Day 2 of Tokenize This. We are fired up. It's the morning. I have the great honor and pleasure of having a fireside chat with Maredith Sapp from WisdomTree. They are doing some amazing, incredible things. If you haven't already heard, you're in for a treat, I believe, because this is truly what I believe is the future of tokenization. But before we get into it, of course, I want to give a chance. Maredith, please introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself and how you maybe got into tokenization.
Sure, I'm happy to, and thank you so much for having me this morning. Really excited to talk a little bit about what I'm doing, but then also more broadly what WisdomTree is doing. So I'm Maredith Sapp. I'm Director of Business Development here at WisdomTree. Prior to WisdomTree, I spent over a decade in traditional finance, like a lot of other folks you'll hear from over the next 2 days, and was at Morgan Stanley and Merrill Lynch. And actually at both of those firms, I came into contact with blockchain and also with crypto specifically. So at my time at Merrill Lynch, I was on a corporate strategy team looking at efficiencies across both wealth management and commercial banking, and found blockchain technology back in 2017 and said this must be a better way to do internal processing than faxing, because there was truly people faxing still, and there probably still are today. Unfortunately, at the time, the bank wasn't ready to really embrace it, but I know now they are. And then at Morgan Stanley, I led business development for their outsourced chief investment office and was working with a lot of family offices and would go in with some really cool club deals for real estate investments and different alternatives. And they would stop at the end of the presentation and go, but what about Bitcoin? And I realized that this was definitely where those two were converging. And I found WisdomTree where we're working on crypto as an asset class, and then also blockchain technology and how that can create efficiencies in capital markets. And it was just a match made in heaven for my two experiences to come here about a year and a half ago.
Well, that's fantastic. I think it's funny that you say that there might even still be people trying to fax today when we're here trying to kill the spreadsheet. So
exactly.
Very, very interesting. Well, let's dive into that a little bit. I want you to just shine some light on WisdomTree just as a company. Innovation runs in your DNA. For anyone in the audience that just for some reason isn't too familiar, I'd love for you to really give the highlight of why this isn't just a random decision or moving with the times. This is something that I think you're really taking a bold step and saying this is the future,
We absolutely are. And you're right. WisdomTree, we're a $95 billion asset manager globally, historically an ETF issuer. We're headquartered out of New York, but we also have a large EU and LATAM presence. And to your point, I think a lot of people ask us, so what does an ETF issuer have to do with blockchain? And it's actually our heritage in the ETF business that makes us uniquely positioned to succeed in the blockchain ecosystem. And you're right, we have a history of innovative products, but also we forge new paths. It's really in our DNA. We're a firm of firsts. So from gold ETPs to managed futures to crypto ETPs to now our digital funds, we embrace innovation in the spirit of making products easier for customers to access the markets. But we're also rooted in governance and risk management. And I think that's a differentiator for us. So all of our products, whether in traditional wrappers or in digital wrappers, are governed by the same high standards of rules and regulations, including our role as a fiduciary, but also with required financial disclosures and all the regulations that go around that. And I'll get more into this in a bit, but there's also a lot of similarities structurally, operationally, and from a regulatory perspective that are similar across these digital and traditional wrappers. And we see this as an advantage to already understanding and effectively navigating these key elements to securely manage these products. So we know what we're doing. This isn't our first rodeo. And so as we start to think about our strategy, it's bringing traditional assets into mainstream finance. So that's crypto as an asset class. I know not the discussion for today, but indexes, ETPs, potentially the US spot, Bitcoin ETF if it gets approved. But then it's also bringing mainstream assets into the digital world. So both through WisdomTree Prime, but then also soon into the broader digital ecosystem. So it's these things called digital funds that I've mentioned now a few times, which are pretty much tokenized real world assets like treasuries and equities. It's also physical gold, so think of commodities. And both of these, in terms of expertise and experience, really is our focus and utility around these assets. So it's not just investing, but it's the ability to spend and send them as well. So the bigger question we're trying to ask ourselves is, so your brokerage account is now on your phone, but why not be able to do more with what you have today? And that's really the problem that we're trying to solve with WisdomTree Prime and utilizing blockchain technology to do that.
Yeah, I love how you put that. This isn't, crypto assets for sure are a new opportunity, but this isn't just about access, which it is absolutely, but the idea that you can actually, what I like to call as financial services embedded into these things is really something we're going to dive deep into. I think it was your CEO that said, ETFs are today, but tokenization is tomorrow. So what would you say, what was that light bulb moment for the firm? When would you say that this really became important to WisdomTree?
Oh, absolutely. And that was our founder and CEO, John O. Steinberg. About 4 years ago, he posed the question to our team, what can do to ETFs what ETFs did to mutual funds? So again, as that ETF issuer, what's next? What's the next big innovation in financial wrappers? And we set out to answer that question. And we found blockchain technology. And we see it as ETFs disrupted the mutual fund industry because of their accessibility. All an investor needed was a brokerage account. Now we see a similar opportunity with digital funds and blockchain-enabled finance, where all an investor needs is a smartphone. So we see bringing traditional assets into the digital ecosystem allows for blockchain technology to be used in a more mainstream capacity. Again, this whole theme of democratization of finance and positioning WisdomTree Prime in the app is really the center of investors' financial life over time. And we know this, and this is what this whole summit is about. We're on the precipice of a major shift in financial services, and we see blockchain-enabled finance transforming that. And we are prioritizing innovation today. Being able to be a nimble blockchain-based company gives us that backbone to evolve quickly and to meet future use cases as well.
That is a beautiful quote. I gotta say, we gotta record it. That's very aptly put. And maybe we can even get into a little bit more detail before we've been teasing this app. We're gonna get to it, folks. Don't worry. But let's talk a little bit more, just exactly some of those efficiencies, some of those financial services, if you will, that you're embedding and what you can experience being an app user as opposed to just a brokerage account investor.
Yeah, sure. And I'd say I'll talk about our approach to digital assets, and then I'll dig more into what those benefits look like. But over these years, we've developed our digital assets business as an extension of our existing business. And I think this is important because there's a lot of apps out there, and there's a lot of different companies that are starting to put out tokenized assets. But for us, it's three core principles that we were built on that continue into blockchain technology today that I think are really critical. It's regulation and compliance, which I've already touched on. It's smart innovation. So building innovative products that align with our core ethos and leverage existing operational efficiencies when possible. And then it's distribution. So expanding on and into a new customer base, knowing that what we do today, we're experts in. So from a regulation perspective, we started on this journey with regulators focused on really going through the front door. And that's a big focus of ours. So our digital funds, they're 40 Act funds for those that are familiar with the term. They're effective with the SEC. And we took many years working with, and more importantly, educating regulators on what blockchain technology is, what it means, and what are the benefits to the end consumer. And we also wanted these funds to be available to retail investors with low minimums. Again, really, our belief is in the democratization of finance through blockchain. And we think retail investors should have access to all the same technology and products that institutional investors do. So it's a really key point of this. In terms of smart innovation, we've tokenized real world assets. I've already talked about bonds, equities. They're all public markets now to start. We started with the public markets. Again, it's more of our expertise and our heritage. And these digital funds are open-ended, registered 40 Act products like a traditional mutual fund that then they have tokenized shares on the blockchain. And we have 9 of them effective today. They're all available on WisdomTree Prime. Again, we'll do some screen sharing there later to show you what that looks like. And really how it works is that shareholder ownership is duly recorded and reconciled. So meaning that there's an off-chain book entry as well as a blockchain entry, and they're both maintained by our transferred agent. So again, this is really an evolution that we're going through as we start to develop into this technology and bring capital markets on chain. I will say this is a question I always get, so this might come up, but it's just specific to note when we talk about real world asset tokenization, None of this includes crypto. So we are talking about real world assets. Like when I say treasuries, I mean actually US treasuries. So again, we're able to leverage a lot of the same operational processes and efficiencies that we already have today in our traditional business. So it's a core competency of ours that is then now we're bringing that into the blockchain technology space. And then another really strong suit for us is commodities. This might be something that's well known if anyone from Europe's on, but we have a tokenized gold product that's actually physically backed gold. That's also part of the app, and it's not a fund, it's physical. So as one of the largest gold ETP providers, we leverage the same stringent operations and risk management to provide a physically backed gold in a token form. Why I bring this up too is what's really cool about this is that we have near instant settlement that you'll see in the app, and it's able to be physically redeemed, and it's a much more cost-effective option. So again, we see gold, because it is a commodity, as really the gold star and the North Star that we're starting to move towards, that hopefully the rest of our securities products will follow suit operationally as we continue to build out the ecosystem.
That I have no doubt about, and I wholeheartedly agree with your definition of RWAs. I think it's very important the industry can get on the same page, if you will, about that. And folks, if you're listening, I just want to highlight this again because I think WisdomTree gets the title of the most active on-chain 1940 Act fund issuer with over 9 available on the app, but I think there's already 10 that are effective, if I'm correct. Which just again, I want to clarify, everybody, despite all the issues with, of course, trying to do a spot ETF and other things in the crypto space, this is moving forward. WisdomTree has already successfully done a lot of the work, talking to regulators, getting them comfortable with having a public fund essentially available on chain now through an app, which providing that near instant settlement, providing that easy access, as you mentioned earlier, to a variety of different products. I mean, that is such a game changer that I don't know how much longer we can tease the crowd for showing off the app. But if you wanted to cover something before we get to the slides, I'm happy to talk about that too.
Yeah, sure. Why don't we just benefits? I said that I would cover on, and I realized I didn't now. So let me talk about the benefits really quick, and then let's get into it. But I think that these are 3 key areas that probably most of the folks on the phone know, but transparency, liquidity, standardization. I think we're all chasing these, and these are really critical. But from a transparency perspective, immutable, auditable, we know this about blockchain. But I think from a financial standpoint, financial services standpoint, ensuring the integrity and the finality of the data. So think of transaction history, ownership records, asset performance. These are where these can be a complete game changer. Liquidity, faster settlement times, like I just mentioned with gold, almost instant settlement. Atomic settlement is something that's possible through smart contracts that self-execute. That's going to be a huge game changer as that becomes more and more prevalent. And also standardization. I've mentioned this as well, but financial inclusion and access. Anyone with a smartphone or internet access can access this app that we are going to show. So I think those are just 3 really key points. And those combined are collapsing the existing value chain where any token, regardless of the underlying asset. So when we talk about gold, when we talk about treasuries, Bitcoin, ETH, they're all on the same rail and can be used for payments, for peer-to-peer transfers, for savings. So to end customers, and this is again what we're building with WisdomTree Prime that I promise we'll show in a few minutes, where you can buy gold instantly. You can pay for a coffee with your T-bills. You can send your friend or yourself ETH cross borders, all transparently, quickly, and with less friction than today. And that's what we're building towards. And it's really remarkable that some blockchains can provide near instant settlement and 24/7, 365. And that's what we're working towards, which is really, really exciting. So looking forward to, unlocking future use cases for this. But I think WisdomTree Prime is on the road to get there and to showcase a lot of that.
Find me somebody who doesn't want all those features. I mean, come on. And I agree. I think you're probably only just scratching the surface, right, of what's eventually going to be possible. Like being able to just pay, why would you ever keep your money in a bank account when you can just pay directly tied to your treasury bills or your portfolio, et cetera? A very exciting concept.
And think about all of that in checking and savings that's not earning anything. And you could have all of that earning 5% in T-bills, and then you can pay your credit card bill with it or pay for groceries with it. So there's no dead cash. And I think that's what's really exciting about this too, is And if you're like me, I probably have 10 finance apps on my phone. They all do different things. There's a credit card one, there's a savings, checking, brokerage, crypto. The goal of WisdomTree Prime is to bring that all together into one app and to really make your finances work for you in a way that you're not going to all of these different providers. It's one centralized location that it can work for you.
And I think something we're going to see, which I think is a differentiator when it comes to tokenization, naturally, this concept of self-custody is very cool and awesome and a main staple for crypto. But I believe, what you're doing is, for a lot of us who get nervous about even sending crypto transactions, or it's cool, we can instantly settle, but I want somebody to do this in the background. I want somebody to take care of this. It sounds like WisdomTree's done the work of making this a pretty seamless experience. It doesn't require too much education from a crypto perspective from the user. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes, that's right. And really, this is for the crypto curious, the people who just want a better investing experience. They want access to crypto. They want access to treasuries. They want access to gold. And in one easy to use, simple interface, you can see all of your assets in one page, and then you're able to spend off of them. So absolutely, that's right. And again, we think that there's a real benefit for that. There's always the people who are going to say, not my keys, not my coin. But there's a lot of people who aren't comfortable with that. And that's really the target market that we're going after here. So we're in 32 states today, just in the US, which is over 60% of the US population. That's hot off the press. So just came out yesterday. Nice. We're super excited about that, with a few more coming in the next few weeks. But maybe we can show the slides and I can talk through a little bit of what this looks like. Awesome, great. So this is the landing page. You'll see this if you go into either the Google.
One sec, Meredith. I just want to make sure that it's also updated for everybody else. I know that we can see it. We'll just give it 30 seconds. And we're good to go. So go for it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that. I can see it on my side, so got excited. So this is when you go into the app or the Google store, this is the landing page that you'll see. And just to also take a step back, we recognize that there's a few problems in the market that we're looking to solve with WisdomTree Prime. So you'll see here around security as a priority. A trusted, reputable, experienced firm to provide access to these tokenized products is what we are. And we think that there's a lot of weight, rightfully so, considering the events of the last 2 years, that make that a really important point to the end consumer. But also the actual utility of assets. Gold will sit in a vault for years, treasuries in a brokerage account. Again, to what I said earlier about what if you could use these assets to pay for your daily financial needs? And what if you could always be earning a yield on that cash sitting in your checking accounts? And that's a really, really powerful tool for the retail investor that we're bringing to the forefront in an easy way. And we also just think that there must have been a better way to invest that's faster, that's more efficient, and that's easier than what we have today. So that's WisdomTree Prime. If you look here, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, you'll see just some screenshots of the app. Again, we're not in all 50 states, so out of the US, so just teasing some screenshots of what it looks like when it does come to your home state. But the app provides users with a curated and user-friendly investing experience. And hopefully we can go to the next slide. I'm not seeing it up just yet.
Is it not going? Let me just...
No problem. Oh, and there's disclosures. So our compliance team will be very happy. So those are also, touch on those towards the end. But there's a select suite of crypto. So we have Bitcoin, we have Ether, we also have tokenized real assets, and exposure to mainstream traditional assets through WisdomTree's very own digital funds. So as of today, there we go. As of today, you can see how it looks from left to right, signing on, a main homepage, purchasing gold, what the gold screen looks like as you buy or sell it, and then what your holdings would potentially look like. So again, really clean, really easy to use, and you would have no idea that this is running on blockchain rails. And that's also really a goal of ours, is to say the technology will sit in the background just like the internet does, just like electronic trading does. And it's just a better, more efficient, faster way to invest, to save, and to spend. So we're really, really excited about this. And we think that there's a lot of potential here as we start to build this out. What's coming soon is a debit card. We'll also have additional functionality in terms of peer-to-peer transfers, as I mentioned before, for going outside of the app. But for now, it's a really, really great way to, first of all, start to dip your toe into crypto. Second of all, get access to yield. And third of all, if you're interested in gold, obviously physically backed gold is a great way to be able to hold this digitally. So really excited about this. And again, in 32 states, go to WisdomTreePrime.com to check it out, or go to the App Store. We're both in Apple and in Google, and download the app.
I mean, just looking at this is just not what you expect when you think of an asset manager. I mean, not even 10 years ago would you expect something this clean, and now today you're rolling this out as if you're a natural born Silicon Valley tech company. It's pretty wild.
We have a great team. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're really excited about it. And also just the utility of it. We think that end consumers will find a lot of benefits from it as well, especially as we start to turn on the debit card and the spend and the send features. That utility is really a key for us, and the democratization of it too, that we have low minimums from an investment perspective. So it's an easy way to enter, not many barriers to entry. And again, it's all on your phone, which is what's really incredible.
Yes, it is. So that's why I got to ask, did Florida end up making the cut?
It did.
I got to go download the app and play around with it right after this. Count on that. But we still have a few minutes left, so I'm going to take full advantage. I think one of the hot topics, is around private and public blockchains when it comes to institutional adoption, potential barriers. Would love your thoughts on that. Shed some light, maybe even how you see the Prime app itself leveraging potentially public or private blockchains.
Sure. Happy to. And I think this is probably the most asked about, most talked about question right now, but it's also the debate that's been going on for a long time. And that's what we joke about internally, that we're back at this conversation too. But I really think, and again, I think this is where my tenure in traditional finance, I do have sympathy on the private blockchain side that I know if other people were on would probably have a different opinion. But I really think it's dependent on the use case. So if we're talking about utilizing blockchain to gain efficiencies for trading with known counterparts, then I can see using a private blockchain or a permissioned subnet to facilitate those transactions. And you can see some real value, whether it's in cost, speed, or both. For instance, we joined the Avalanche Spruce testnet with Wellington, T. Rowe Price, and a few others to test out use cases like that. We do see a value there. But coming from over a decade in traditional finance, I understand that this is a journey for larger institutions. It's a good starting point to adopt the technology, begin to understand the benefits, but we're not going to get to the full scale and adoption needed to see that end goal of democratization until everyone's working on a public chain. So on the flip side, if we're talking about use cases for true distribution, getting real scale, democratization of finance, financial access, you need to be on a public chain. So that's why we've built Prime on a public blockchain, specifically Stellar. And we're starting to work towards how we can think about more broadly distributing assets across chains, specifically EVM compatible ones, to grant more people access and truly utilize this technology as it was meant to be utilized. So meaning eliminating barriers, borders, lines for everyone to have the same access to finance and banking. So I see both sides of that coin, but we're very much in the public blockchain space.
No pun intended. And it's obvious that you didn't let the debate hold you back. Clearly, now that you're live with the app, so that's the most important thing, and that is the most important message, everybody. That tokenization is happening right now. Clearly, you hopefully learned that from our amazing conversation with Maredith from WisdomTree here. If you do have questions, reach out to the lobby. We might be able to get them over to Maredith, and maybe we can get you in the networking here and there. But other than that, this has been absolutely amazing. The recording will be available on the platform, everybody. And thank you again, Maredith. This was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great. And yes, please send any questions. And I'm also online, so feel free to find me LinkedIn, Twitter. And thanks again for having me.
I don't know about everybody else, but I'm going to go download that app.
Thank you.
Move on to the next session, everybody. Ciao.
Bye.